Stop. Don't go anywhere too fast. It's time to listen to a Head Over the Footy podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Head Over the Footy, Ep.19. Charlie's got the footy in hand, and that's because we've got round 10 coming up. It's not because you got the footy in hand. But anyway, you excited for round 10, Charlie? Firstly, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Hatzoglou.
And Sam, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me back.
Beautiful, mate. Well, this week is it's a round of two halves. It's the good half and it's the shit half.
Okay.
The first half of games are the games you need to make sure you watch. And the second half of the games are the ones that you can probably put to bed and just check the AFL up.
I love this because you're one of the only members of the football media I see doing this, which is every round you give your listeners a little prescription for the round.
Absolutely.
You say, this is what you need to watch.
This is what
It's good.
Well, this is what it is, right? This week I've gone through it, and let's go through each game just quickly. Gold Coast taking on Geelong. It's at TIO Stadium. We won't go through each game because that'll bore you, won't it?
I haven't even looked at the round, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about it, Sammy.
I didn't watch last round.
And we like to give our listeners the top three games of the round to watch.
Yeah.
The top three games to watch. So we'll try and do that for you. And it's coming down to 5 games, and which is the first 5 games of the round, excluding there's 2 Saturday night games on at, believe it or not, 2 Saturday night games on. At what time? At the same time, 7:30. The AFL scheduling of games. You might be a bit confused as to why I said that, but why would you have 2 games on Saturday night starting at 7:30? I watched a video of a footy fan saying, at half time, I like to flick it over to the other game, watch that game for 10 or 15 minutes, enjoy that game, and then flick back on to the game I was watching once the third quarter starts.
Is one of the games in Perth?
Are you saying that they should start at different times?
Yes.
Not that they shouldn't be on at the same time.
They shouldn't be on at the same time.
Okay.
Because then, Sammy,
Then
you can watch the end of both games.
Yeah.
If they're on
Okay,
off
I
at
gotcha.
different times.
I thought you meant they just shouldn't be on at the same time. I was like, well, you got to fit some games in there.
Yeah.
There should be a bit of a buffer, 20, 30 minute buffer, whatever.
Who's playing?
Well, that doesn't matter. But it's St Kilda Freo and then Brisbane Richmond.
Ross the Boss Cup.
Yes, that's a good one.
You're going to mention that.
I'm going to use that in my article.
Of course. Yeah.
Ross the Boss Cup.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up with him as well.
Yeah.
We'll see what his reaction is.
Can you ask him if he took every player from Fremantle and St Kilda that he's ever coached, who's his least favourite player, and see how he reacts?
Well, it's not Zach Dawson.
Yeah, it's definitely not Zach Dawson. And it's not Dylan Wilson either.
Who's Dylan Wilson?
I don't know if I'd hold my position as a
Dylan
reporter
Wilson?
after asking that question.
Was his name Dylan Wilson or Cal Wilson?
Oh, I don't remember.
The one that you asked a question about.
Oh, Darcy Wilson.
Darcy Wilson.
Darcy Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very young player. He's only played a handful of games, so it's Anyway, let's break it down for our listeners and viewers if you're watching on YouTube. You got the round starting off with Gold Coast Geelong, cracking game. Gold Coast have got a really good record in Darwin. That's their second home. They've won. I watched the game there last year. I watched both games there last year at TIO Stadium, and the Gold Coast won both of them. They beat Adelaide and they beat the Bulldogs, and it was tremendous football. Jack Lukosius is a gun. I don't know why he's playing in the back line, but Damien Hardwick's decision. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with why it's a top game to watch. But anyway, well, it does. But anyway, the Suns are in with a chance. We know Geelong are good, but yeah, as we said, that record. So that game's going to be a good one. It's in Darwin as well. Unique conditions, interesting watch. It's on a Thursday night as well. Then you got Sydney Carlton on Friday night. This is obviously a good game. It's first v 7. Jesus, you guys are slipping down the ladder.
We've played a lot of good teams.
Excuses. Anyway, Carlton are a good team. Sydney are great, and this might not make the top 4. The top 3 games to watch because it's in Sydney. I think Sydney. People could consider this game as just a Sydney win. Couldn't you say that, Sam?
I think Carlton have showed enough that they'll be in most games.
Yeah, there'll be a chance for sure.
But Carlton fans there's a heightened expectation on them these days. Like, you reckon they'll start getting restless? Who have you got? Sydney, and then there's a few other good teams you haven't played yet.
I don't know. The complex Carlton fans have is very crazy, and it's hard to know because we made a prelim last year. Like, there shouldn't really be that much pressure on us. Like, we should obviously make finals, but it's not like we need to do something or Voss is in trouble.
I think that the Carlton-Essendon game, which is in about 4 weeks, if Carlton don't have a great month, that could be a huge game, because there's one rule that I've noticed with Essendon over the last 10, 15 years is that you can't lose to Essendon. As soon as you lose to Essendon, the fans keep calling for the coach's job. Like Bevo, after they lost, it was done. I think Essendon killed Brendan Bolton's career.
Yeah, they did.
Bossy survived that week and then
that's
went
the
on
thing.
a run.
That's the thing. Essendon technically is what, was the kick up the backside Carlton needed.
Yeah.
Because that was the lowest point of our season last year. By far.
That's been the thing over the last how many years that as soon as you lose to Essendon, people are like, fuck, we really need to sort shit out.
Yeah.
Well, it might be different this year, but that will be a good game. Anyway, that Carlton are in with a chance at the SCG to beat Sydney. Collingwood Adelaide is a good game.
Where is that?
I think it's at the G. Now Adelaide.
What's that, 8th verse for
Adelaide
13?
need to win. So
I reckon Adelaide might win that.
Adelaide have beaten Collingwood at the G as well. They actually play a right against Collingwood at the G. And Adelaide's 12th. So they're 3 and 5. If they lose this, so it's a big game for them. Collingwood are 8th. I think it'll just be a close game because there's so much on the line here for Adelaide. So I think that'll be a good game. Maybe that doesn't make the top 3, but we'll see. GWS Bulldogs. We know the history between these two teams, and in terms of...
Is that in Sydney?
Yeah, prelim.
I think GWS will get back.
GWS will get back, but the Bulldogs, they got their season back on track last week, beating Richmond. Pressure was on Beveridge massively before that. Now, this is a week where they got to show up and back up last week's performance, and they're playing against a rival of theirs, and it's GWS at Giants Stadium where that historic game happened, where the rivalry started when Bulldogs beat GWS in that prelim. So that'll be a good game. That's on Saturday at twilight. Now, the last game that's in contention for the top 3 games to watch, which is the 5th game, which I think will be a good one, is St Kilda Fremantle at Marvel. Ross the Boss under pressure. Fremantle under pressure. Both teams coming off losses. And they're both, what are they? They're just outside the 8th. 9th for Freo. St Kilda 14th. It's a huge game. And St Kilda's got the home ground advantage. People will say Freo will win this.
Why is Freo St Kilda a huge game and Carlton Sydney isn't even in the top 3?
Well, it could be the top 3 game. But I'm just saying, this game, Sydney could win.
Freo St Kilda's a huge game, not because of what happens during the 120 minutes as play, but what happens in the 20 minutes afterwards. No. You know what I'm talking about.
But no, Charlie, this game could be very close. Charlie,
him in the press conference. All
right. Well, look, I've said what I've had to say about each game. And what do we think is the top 3? Gold Coast Geelong, Sydney Carlton, Collingwood Adelaide, GWS Bulldogs, or St Kilda Freo.
But you didn't see the full list. So the games that
the other games are irrelevant. The other games. I'll tell you the other games. Yeah. This is why I haven't mentioned them. Brisbane, Richmond. Richmond got pumped last week. Yeah. Brisbane at the Gabba, they should win. Essendon, North are struggling. Essendon should win that. They just beat GWS.
Yes, you never know.
I know. You never know. But I have faith
they can't
that hopefully...
If Essendon lose to North this week, it'll be the most funniest thing that's happened in ages. After this week.
Wouldn't be that unpredictable.
If Essendon lose to North, I don't know what Essendon... The Essendon could be... They might not exist after losing to North.
Essendon might not exist.
Yeah.
They'll be neutered.
It could be that bad.
Yeah.
Port playing Hawthorn. Well, you know what? I actually probably underestimated this game. Hawthorn have just beaten St Kilda. They've won 3 of their last 4, I think, the Hawks. And Port are good. Port just beat Geelong. So you expect Port to win, but this could be a good game. The last one, West Coast Melbourne. It's at Perth Stadium. No game
There's a
is
lot
a
of-
shoey, but those last couple of games
There's a lot of
not as
kind of
good, I
like-
don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. No games have really got me that excited this week.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
No, neither.
Except for Essendon North and seeing North supporters,
Yeah.
hopefully, because that's their grand final. North
Yeah.
Melbourne hate Essendon.
Well,
What's the Friday night game?
it's Sydney Carlton.
We're on prime time every week.
I think Sydney Carlton will probably
It's
be the
crazy.
best game.
Well, yeah, that's a fair shout. I'll give my top 3. I think it'll
I
be
think Port and Hawthorn will be good as well, actually.
starting at number 3, Port and Hawthorn. Yeah, I think that'll be a good game. Starting at number 3, I'm going to go with GWS and Bulldogs. I think that'll be a cracker. Number 2, I'm going to go with Sydney Carlton. And number 1, I'll go with St Kilda Freo. 2 teams coming off losses. Ross is under pressure. Freo under pressure because they started the season so well and they've slipped. If they lose this, then their season is like, what the hell? They're going to miss the top 8.
No, it's a good point.
What's
It
the
is a good
first
game.
question you will ask Ross if St Kilda lose that game?
I'll be like, Ross the boss, how you feeling after losing the Ross Line Cup? I'll say that to him, actually. That might work.
Yeah.
Hopefully he takes it well. He might just... he'll probably laugh. Anyway, we'll see what happens, boys. I don't know
knows?
if I'll have the first question, though. That's also a little contentious.
You should
thing
pick up
between
where
How
you
does
you
it
and
work?
us.
Is there a pecking order?
Well, is this a Channel 7 game? Theodoropoulos might be there, or Mitch Cleary. So they get
the big boys
they
in
get
the
the centre
playgrounds.
stage. They get centre stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it actually work like that? Do they
Yeah,
say...
they usually take the first question.
So they'll be like, listen up. Big boy Mitch is in town. He's taking the first question.
Well, usually if it's on Channel 7, there'll be a Channel 7 camera there filming the journos,
yeah.
and they're just ready to go.
Do you say
If I jumped in there,
Yeah.
do you say Max Hatzoglou head over the footy?
no, I'm there for the Herald Sun.
You should do
I'm
for
there
Head
for
Over the
News
Footy.
Corp, Newswire.
Yeah.
So is it sometimes hard to get a question in?
No.
Do you have to fight
usually,
for it?
sometimes, yeah. Sometimes there's 2 journos going, "Da-da-da-da-da," and then whoever
Do you have
has the
any-
last word and continues their question.
Do you have any persistent rivals that you... Is
Nah,
there a young budding journo from the age?
Nah, it's all friendly.
How much are you the youngest by far?
No, there's just some other young journos, but I'd probably be one of the youngest. I'd probably be the youngest, I'd say. Maybe, I don't know. There are a few though that are around the early 20s.
Who's your favourite journo?
Favorite journo? I don't have a favorite, but I like a lot of them. Favorite journo? I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. Who's yours? Do you have a favorite?
You.
I have strong
It's you,
opinions.
mate.
I'm sometimes I'm more engaged with the football media than I am with the actual football sometimes. But
Yeah.
I love Cal Toomey. I
Yeah,
think
he's
he's great. And then in terms of the ex-footy players, I can't go past Kane. I love Kane.
Cornsey.
Corns, yeah.
Caro,
He's good.
Lordo, Kane, for what he brings to the table.
I
Roko, classic.
Rocos and
I love Jonathan Brown. I love his just insights.
I'll tell you who is underrated
Jason Dunstall.
as like a funny man.
Dunstall's
is
excellent.
Adam Cooney on the Armchair Experts. Like because he just is so relatable. He's just like this kind of like bloke sitting on the couch. He's like eating Pringles half the time, and he's pretty funny.
He
Like
is.
compared to like
It's very natural.
I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
it is
some other
natural.
ones that like try and act it up, like Daisy Thomas.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he's that natural at
Yeah.
like being the funny man.
Yeah.
Whereas Adam Cooney's just this like laconic sort of like just laid back,
Yeah.
just says it how it is.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the most underrated shows, I reckon. Armchair
I love
Experts.
Anthony Hudson.
I like Cam.
You
He's a
like
Luke.
great
Hutto?
commentator, yeah.
Cam Luke.
Yeah, he's good as well. Yeah. They're a good duo.
Yeah, and Georgie Parker. They're a good
Yeah.
trio.
Georgie, but she hasn't
Yeah.
been on it this
I
year.
like
she
Charlie
should.
Gill
They're
as
a good-
well.
They're a good
Charlie
trio.
Gill.
He's good. Charlie Gill in the media.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit different. If you're going to get into kingpins, it's a whole other conversation.
Well, you've been stepping on Charlie's turf.
Yeah.
You were covering the Fitzroy game.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you actually were, yeah.
Dana Harvey, the legend, kicked
So maybe
7
we
goals
have
for the
found-
Roy's.
Maybe we have found your media rival.
Yeah. When I saw you doing that, then I put a Instagram story on the Rotunda and said, "What's happening at Fitzroy?" So yeah, I was spurred into action by you.
Oh, did you see my tweet?
No, just seeing you there, and I was like, "What are you doing here?"
Oh, that caused a bit of competitiveness.
I don't let you pass the border.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's easy to slip into the Fitzroy territory.
not without me noticing.
I did it.
Yeah, true.
Well, there we go. We're getting the wind up from Nath. Thanks for your help today, Nath, our great producer. But that wraps up the show. Sammy, excellent stuff, mate. Thanks for coming on, providing your thoughts and opinions and everything else.
No worries. Hopefully
Good
be
stuff.
back.
Charlie, well done again.
Thanks, Hatza. Hats off to you.
That's the wrap up. Thanks for tuning in. And as we say at the end of every preview show, enjoy the round. And this week, it's round 10. Have a good one.